What's up? What's up? I am welcome. Well, not I am. Welcome to the Crossover Sports Podcast, episode 100, technically episode 101. But because we missed a week due to my busy schedule last week, this is episode 100, our landmark 100 episode. I'm rocking out with Amina. It's the controversial duo. Trey is working, and a lot of other people are enjoying their weekend. So right now it's just me and her. But Amina, go ahead and reintroduce yourself.
Hi everyone, it's Amina coming to you all from the city of Philadelphia where we finally got some sunshine. No rain today. Yeah, very happy. Yes, it's episode 100, 100, big episode. Um, I'm happy that we've come this far. It's not many podcasts have is this longevity um, home style podcast where it's not known all over the place, but secluded to some areas. So it's a blessing, 100 episodes. I don't know how far God would take us or where He'll take us, but He's taking us to episode 100, and we couldn't be more happy to be now an official triple digits episode. Let's keep going, and maybe one day we'll be at episode 1000. So let's get started because we got some great topics to talk about today.
So one of the great things about having an episode a week later is we get to include some things that we would have missed from last week. So we have a couple weeks worth of topics. So we're about to tackle them. The main one, the biggest one from the last couple of weeks, is Colin Kaepernick. Our man, uh, excuse me, we missed this last week. Our man, not our man, but Colin Kaepernick signed a new deal with Nike, and he is one of the faces of Nike's 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign, and a lot of people are upset about it. Some people that are claiming to be extreme conservatives are very upset about this because they have brought into this misconception that this man was kneeling against the flag and not against police brutality and against all this other stuff. So they are burning their Nikes, they're boycotting Nikes. You might have seen some of these people on the internet. So we're going to talk about that. I'll start. Colin Kaepernick, my man, he's made me look like a fool because I have been on this podcast saying that he needed to speak, that he was letting 45 and a lot of other people, Fox News, 45, and a lot of other extreme conservatives take his message and spin it to the way they want the masses to perceive it. And what has happened is a lot of people perceive kneeling as a form of disrespect to the flag when anybody that actually knows the stories, that actually knows the facts, knows that it was a veteran by the name of Nate Boyer who told Colin Kaepernick to kneel because kneeling was way more respectful to the, and it wouldn't be misconstrued because originally Colin Kaepernick was pulling a Marshawn Lynch and just sitting down during the anthem. And nobody really paid attention to it until somebody asked him about it 2 years ago, going on 3 years ago now, when one ESPN reporter, or I think it might have been a 49ers reporter, asked him, well, why are you sitting down during the anthem? And then he told him, he said, I'm probably going to butcher this quote, but paraphrasing a little bit, but it was basically that I'm going to keep sitting down because America does not live up to its ideals, and I will not start standing up for the anthem until America lives for its ideals. I can't stand and play this game or, not respect the flag, but, stand up for the anthem when my brothers and sisters of color are going through police brutality and not treated equally and other things that you can fill in the blanks about. And, that's where it all started at. That was his initial message, and then people kept misconstruing it, and he kept staying silent. And me, Amina, and a bunch of other people, Stephen A. Smith, a lot of other people were saying he needs to speak. And he's made me, like I said, like I opened, look like a fool, because now he has this brand new deal with Nike. And now we know a little bit more about that Nike was kind of, they had him under contract, but they kind of were forced, the market forced them to renegotiate the contract because Adidas and who else was trying to take him? Adidas and Puma, Jay-Z. Adidas and Puma were trying to take Colin Kaepernick out from under Nike by offering him more lucrative contracts. So Nike was forced, the market forced their hand, and so they offered Colin Kaepernick a contract he couldn't refuse. They have continued to pay him throughout, even though he's not a player, but now they are using him in their campaign. And some people would say making the protests, making money off the protests. And to be honest, I mean, this is what I've said all along that he needed. Like Colin Kaepernick either needed a big-time player, a big-time player from another ethnicity, a la Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or somebody to say, hey, listen, and they have said it, Aaron Rodgers specifically, the reason that he's not in this league is because his protest was not met against the flag, and they have said it. Both him and Tom Brady have said it, but it hasn't been enough. But now this is enough. The Nike endorsement now has forced the NFL to come out and say, well, basically, while we support Colin Kaepernick, they basically had to come out and say we support Colin Kaepernick. They gave a non-statement by saying we support Colin Kaepernick and support Nike's venture with him. But they basically gave a non-statement because, as Stephen A. Smith said a couple of weeks ago, where was this in 2016? Where was this in 2017? Where was this throughout most of this year? Why did it take 2 weeks ago, Colin Kaepernick getting a Nike endorsement because of getting a Nike endorsement for the NFL to do what they should have done 2 years ago? But Nike, because they do the jerseys for the NFL, because they're the NFL's biggest partner, because of the power of Nike, now the NFL has to come out with a statement and come out where they always should have been, on the side of their player, instead of letting Fox News 45 and the Cult decide that, this was against police brutality. This was against the flag. When originally it was against police brutality. It was trying to bring attention to the fact that people of color are treated differently. Even though a lot of people have been trying to tell a lot of people that for a while. Tell a lot of people that for a while. But now it's out there in the ether. Now, because of Nike and because of this endorsement, people are actually thinking about it. People are saying, well, Nike's behind him. There must be something to this protest. But I don't understand why it took Nike paying this man for people to see that there's actually some legitimacy here, as if black people haven't been telling people this for years. And then, most recently we have what happened in Dallas with the off-duty police officer shooting a black man in his apartment because some part of her brain allow her to think that was her apartment and he was intruding, when in reality it was his apartment and she shot him. That's why we deal. That's why he deals. Just so there's no confusion there, because a lot of people are still confused. I've seen people on Twitter say he doesn't even know why he's protesting, as if he didn't initially say, I'm protesting against police brutality, inequality for my brothers and sisters of color. And since a lot of them can't speak, I'm speaking up. He sacrificed millions of dollars. He sacrificed his career. And whether you believe that actually happened or not, his collusion suit can move on. So there's something there. What's up? So there's something there. And y'all are just, it's just amazing to see. I'm taking it L because I thought he should have been spoke up. And a lot of other people are taking losses too, because he keeps being proved right. And I'm proud of him. Bravo, brother, for, making a lot of smart people look dumb because you know a lot more than we do. Go ahead, Amina.
Yes, I gotta give it to Kylan. That was a great synopsis of the situation with Colin Kaepernick, and you analyzed it well. My own take on this situation. I have been on and off throughout the day, a little bit throughout the night since this big major breaking news came out about Colin Kaepernick being the face of Nike's 30th anniversary for their Just Do It campaign. I've been scrolling through my social media pages, mainly my Facebook page, and someone I'm connected to online, she posted some very thought provoking questions in regards to this. She's a black woman from America as well, and she posted questions like, "What's Nike's intentions really? What are Nike's plans to invest in the black community since they're connected to his movement that's based and not only based off of, but actually for police brutality against blacks and other people of color?" She posted another question. Will Nike, I'm not exactly quoting her, but paraphrasing, she said, will Nike basically defy law enforcement as far as go against them to stand for black men, women, and children in the inner city that are being persecuted, abused, and basically killed by these law enforcement officials? Very thought provoking questions that go beyond the surface of what's obvious. And when you really think about it, I had to sit and think about it myself and say, well, this is all well and fine that Nike is doing this, but like the person I'm connected to has said, it's always a reason for why big major conglomerates support people that are controversial. It's not just a one-handed situation. It's a two-way street. They're giving Colin Kaepernick this, but what are they getting in return? Is my question. Like, what's in the deal for them? Because they just didn't do this with him for nothing. So I want Nike to have compassion for why he actually started his movement, start campaigning against police brutality, um, stand with the families of victims of police brutality, and to make your voice heard. Since you want to be connected to him and his movement, you have to go beyond that. It just can't be okay. We're gonna give him this deal for these for this gear and apparel, and that's it. No, it's more to that. It's work that needs to be done behind that. And as Kylan also was saying, how we all have been saying that Colin Kaepernick, he needs to do a major press conference and he needs to start speaking. It's like this quote in scripture where it says about doing things to be seen of men. What I think is that Nike and Colin Kaepernick were planning this for a while, and we just didn't know nothing about it. And how it just came out at the right time for how it was designed to be. Colin Kaepernick is, to me, from what I see and have observed, is a very private individual. His personal business, other than his background, is not out there like that. So he's making moves, obviously, behind the scenes that we know nothing about, and they're going to keep coming out. This is only the beginning. We've said this time and time again on this podcast. This is just the beginning. 2019 be year 3, so we don't even know the middle or end of this. People, mainly Caucasians, that are burning their Nike gear and apparel because they're not in agreement with this. Whether you burn it or not, Nike already is winning because they already have your money. They're a multi-billion-dollar institution, and they're set. Like you're actually hurting yourself because you're sitting up there wasting your money. These items are not cheap, especially if you buy the authentic sneakers and apparel. They're not cheap, so you're only basically just burning your own money. Nike already got your money, so I think this is a good opportunity to have a whole lot of conversations about a whole spectrum of things. But Nike does need to get involved with the reason why Colin Kaepernick started his movement, and it needs to happen sooner than later, since they're tying themselves to him now. Because being the face of an ad is not enough. It has to be more. That's what I have to say about that.
All right, let me get back in here. It's just funny to me that Nike does a lot of stuff. They're a business, a multi-million-dollar corporation. They do a lot of questionable things. Like it's been shown and proven that they underpay the children and the women that make the sneakers in their factories in Asia and other things. That there have been some human rights violations there, but nobody cares about that. As soon as Nike does what Nike does, which is sponsor controversial athletes. They've done it with Jordan. They've done it with Tiger Woods. They've done it with a bunch of athletes that they still pay, and they keep it real quiet that they're paying them. They don't really make a big deal that they're still paying these athletes. And, they do a lot of questionable stuff, but most people don't care about that. But as soon as they sponsor what I would argue is one of the most controversial black athletes in the world, let alone the country, everybody's up in arms. Oh, how dare they? Oh, you woke black people want to say, what are they doing? What was the main mission of this? Why did they do that? Let's talk about Nike. Nike has the Jordan brand, which is, and Amina knows this, and most of you who know sports know this, but for those of you that are uninitiated, the Jordan brand, which is the highest grossing black brand on the planet. Y'all talk about black business. I've talked about Michael Jordan and this brand before. And a lot of you ask the dumbest question ever. What do they do for the black community? Do you know that Jordan brand is the number one brand for black people? Black enterprise. That's the Jordan brand. Who owns the Jordan brand? Nike. Nike has, like I just said, the biggest black, the Jordan brand. But again, we have to, I'm just saying, like, Nike has a lot of questionable stuff, but nobody cares about that. But as soon as Colin Kaepernick gets on the payroll and it's confirmed that he's still on the payroll now, he's an even bigger part of the payroll, everybody's up in arms. They're asking questions. All right, we're moving along to our next one. Another news, we had Serena Williams and what's going on with that. Last week, was it last week? Yes, I think it was last week. Serena Williams got into a blow up. And that's a nice way of putting it. A blow up with a chair umpire who gave her coach a penalty and caused Serena Williams to lose a point against Naomi Osaka. And Serena will wind up losing that match, but it really marred a really good match and controversy. And you now have these umpires saying that they will boycott, some of them will boycott Serena Williams matches because they didn't like how she treated the not the umpire, the good Lord. I know tennis. But for lack of a better term, the judge, the umpire, somebody that knows tennis will help me out with, it's escaping me right now what that's called. But anyway, so the chair in there, she was upset because they had, no, it's umpire. I'm right, umpire. They are upset She's upset, and it marred a really good match. So, Amina, what do you think about Serena Williams blow up and the also, for those of you that don't know, we had Australian artists make a controversial, for lack of a better term, caricature of Serena Williams in which she looked like a really, really big, heavy set, borderline monkey looking woman. And they depicted Osaka as a white woman, white, skinny, blonde woman. And, it was just a depiction. He says it's not racist, but it does harken back to the controversial depictions of black people back in the day and with the minstrel shows and all that other stuff. So I mean, all that. What do you think? What's your reaction to all that?
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the controversial portrayal. I'm going to use that term, portrayal of blacks in media outlets and sources over the course of time, especially back in the day. We had the minstrel shows that you mentioned. Um, to this day, we still have Caucasians doing skits and acts and social media viral photos and videos and just a different array of things where they're in blackface, which is putting black makeup all over your face, and sometimes you put red makeup on their lips. Just it's very disrespectful and mocking of black society. And the caricature that the artist made of Serena Williams, it reflects that black folks have been dealing with since that I know of since around the time of the Civil War. So well over a century, basically 100 over 150 years, if you want to be honest about it. It also depicts what America calls, in air quotes, the angry black woman, where black women aren't allowed to express themselves like women of other racial backgrounds as far as trauma, pain, disappointment, sadness. Myself, I'm a black woman and I've been one my entire life. And I know the struggles that come with being a black woman in society, of how we have to be so-called strong in air quotes. We have to be fearless, bold. We're not allowed to be weak. We can't have any type of mental health situations. We can't have any type of um, trauma in our lives. We have to be perfect at all times. Unlike other races of women who get sympathy and are allowed to be feminine. So the caricature that was made reflects that, the angry black woman. And when you really boil down to it, every black woman that's expressing herself is the reason why behind it. We don't we don't talk if something's not bothering us. So start listening to Serena Williams because she has a lot to say because she's been out here playing tennis since she was a very small girl in the 80s when she was little. Her dad started her and her sister, Venus, when they were young and they went professional in the 90s, the mid 90s. And they've been out ever since. So she has a lot of history to talk about on her tennis journey. We don't know all the ins and outs and background story of what she's gone through in the tennis world, the sports world, at the hands of the media. And we're going to find it out, especially after she retires. Oh, it's going to be a whole lot of stuff that's going to come out. Um, Another thing about the match, they're just testing her. At this point, Serena Williams has proven herself. She's the GOAT of the tennis world. Can't no one compare to her. Like, she's solidified herself. She's up there in the tennis rankings with Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson, in my opinion. She has nothing to prove anymore. Like, all she has to do is retire and go on about her life. and they can't handle the black girl magic. They can't handle the black girl's rock. They can't handle the melanin that she has on the tennis court. It's too much. It's too powerful. They hate it. They don't like it. They don't want nothing to do with it. They want tennis to be a whitewashed sport. She is, in their eyesight, a thorn. But it's all right. It's all right. As far as the umpire cheating her out of a point, it's to be expected because of the hatred towards her. How they're like, for years nobody could beat Serena Williams up until quite recently, since she's gotten older. But sh they're tired of seeing her win. They're sick and tired of seeing her win. They're sick and tired of seeing her going to Wimbledon and taking all the trophies and medals home. They're tired of seeing her at Olympics. They're tired of seeing her in front of magazines. They're tired. And this is starting the process of them trying to bite back at her, from what I see. And it's just a shame. And it's for Naomi Osaka, young girl, going to be 21 next month. I gotta commend her. Like, if she keeps it up and Serena can train her, I believe that she could take over the face of tennis in the black community because her father is Haitian. She has it in her. I mean, she just won. So it's a lot going on in the tennis world right now for women of color, and it's a shift that's going on between the Williams sisters phasing out and the next generation phasing in. So shame on the umpire and the other umpires that are trying to band together to ban her matches. They just can't let the black woman be great. They gotta hate her right up out of the whole sport. It's ridiculous. They just can't stand her melanin, her beauty. They can't stand any of it. So Serena, you the goat, you the queen. You ain't got nothing else to prove to anyone, and you can come home now. You can retire and live your life happy. That's what I got to say about that.
All right. So to the point of what's going on with this umpire, right? Now, we hear a common phrase in sports about it's not about the referees. Referees, umpires, and anything else should take themselves out of the sport and not let a match or a game or anything come down to them. And so here we have a uh, official putting themselves into a match. Now, like I said, was Serena's coach wrong for coaching during the match and being caught coaching during the match? I mean, let's be honest. I've had discussions with people up here that are tennis experts, people that have watched tennis and played tennis, and even they say that that is a dumb rule, but it is still a rule. And I think the umpire went too far. I think that, and it's been proven because male tennis players have come out and said that they've said a lot worse and gotten away with it. And, I think that as more things come out and we see what's going on and how they treat Serena Williams and her sister Venus Williams very differently. I mean, most people forget that Serena and Venus actually boycotted Indian Wells, which is a tennis tournament that's held here in America because of their racial disparity in their treatment in that tournament. And they are not afraid to boycott things when they think it is wrong. So when you put yourself in the narrative of a match, you wind up becoming a character. And what has happened to this umpire is, And a lot of people are saying that he was wrong, and that he shouldn't have put himself into this thing by making her lose a point and everything else. But like I said, I mean, the coach was wrong for coaching during the match. And this is a case of two wrongs don't make a right. And honestly, Serena Williams not being able to express herself in tennis because of how conservative tennis is just another indication of a sport being out of touch. I like tennis. I think that it can be done better. I think that some of these things should be changed. I don't think Serena Williams should have been punished. I think the umpire should have had a different skin. I think he should have just said, okay, I'm assessing you the violation and should have been done with it. But instead, he didn't act like an adult. She surely didn't act like an adult. But even still, this is Serena Williams. She gets very expressive when she's angry. And you don't see this side of Serena, so you knew something was wrong, right? And we found out it was a coaching violation. She wound up losing the point, and that wound up, it didn't really affect the match because Serena was getting dominated by Naomi Osaka anyway. But it kind of took Serena out of her game. It kind of affected a very, very good match that a lot of people watched. I think they said 3 million people watched the final between Osaka and Williams, and more. And it was a million. The difference was 3 million. 3.2 million people watched the Williams Osaka match. Only 2 million watched the Del Potro Djokovic match. And so it's different to do that. And we all know Serena Williams is a different kind of athlete. And I just think that it's another coup or a feather in the cap for people that think that Serena Williams gets differential treatment. And a lot of people say there's inequality in the sport when it comes to the Williams sisters, and that they should be treated a whole lot better because they're the ambassadors. They're the ones that have been holding up the sport. And, there's some truth to that. Tennis was dying after Agassi and Sampras retired, and the Williams sisters really stood in the gap for tennis and really made it more popular, especially in the Black community. And there's some truth that they should be given some due respect that the men get, that Federer gets, that a lot of other people get. And I just think that that there is some truth to that, and it's a shame that that is where we are right now, and it shouldn't be that way. But, it is what it is at this point. All right, so moving right along to our next topic. So we have Russell Westbrook. This was one of the biggest sports stories that broke during this week. Russell Westbrook will have to get surgery on his knee again. This is his fourth surgery on that knee. And he will miss at least most of the preseason games and probably the first couple weeks of the season. And this is a blow to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, Amina, what's your reaction to this? Go ahead.
You hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Good. Okay. I heard about Russell Westbrook's situation with his knee surgery just yesterday, actually, and you brought it back up to my attention shortly before we got on air. And when I think about Russell Westbrook, I think of what's the terminology? An underrated player that isn't given the credit that he has earned and is owed. He came to the league when the Seattle Supersonics, he was drafted by the Supersonics, but then a few months later he came to the league, and they had moved from Washington State to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, to be the Thunder. So he was here right in the middle of the transition. So he's been there since basically the team's current inception. Like, he's been there for the last 10 going on 11 years since 2008. And when I look at the team's records at the end of the season every year, I say to myself, this man is the glue that holds this team together. Beyond obvious, I mean, he's the face of the team, but outside of that, he's the glue. I looked and just to confirm it, and I said it's true. All but 2 years that he's been on that team, they've gone to the playoffs. The only two times they didn't make it to the playoffs was his first year he was on the team, his rookie year. They finished 13th. And one random year, a few years after that, they missed the playoffs by one seed and they finished the season ninth. So outside of that, that team is an automatic playoffs contender. They always go. Like it's to be expected. It's like you to not have the Thunder for the last decade be in playoffs. It's unheard of because of Russell Westbrook. I mean, like I said, he holds the team up. And for him to be experiencing a medical situation with his joints and his knees again, it's like, what's going on? Like, it's something that's not being said to his fans, to the organization, to the teammates he's had over the last 10 years. Like, what's going on? Like, it has to be something beyond that because I don't know too many athletes in any sport who have multiple surgeries in the same area on their body. It's like, why? What's up? I just pray that he's all right and well, and it's good that he won't miss the entire season and he'll be back hopefully good as new. But that team, I don't believe that team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, would be successful like they have been without him. He he's special. I mean, it's not much you can say outside of that. Like he should have more accolades to his name because of how he's held his team up for 10 years. And because Paul George is still on the team, I believe that this may be a bittersweet situation and how this may be an opportunity for Paul George to prove himself, which he hasn't really truly done in his career, to see if he can hold up a team on his own for a bit, to see if he can actually run a team while Russ while Russell Westbrook is out on injury leave. This is your opportunity, Paul George. Take advantage of it because you don't get this too often or at all. Russell Westbrook, I wish you well. I actually enjoy some of the games you play against the teams that you play against because you're great. I mean, I feel as though you're awesome when it comes to defense. You average triple doubles, which most players can't do, which is an accomplishment in itself, and you've done it more than once. So, gotta give you your kudos for that. But this knee situation, something has to be going on beyond the surface. Like, why is it always this one part of his body? Like, what are the physical therapists that he have not doing? What are they not telling the public? Like, it has to be something because he's not old. He's still in the prime of his career. He has at least 10 more years in him, in my opinion. So he has to truly find a good physical therapist team, good sports medicine doctors that are going to truly be in his corner to truly have his best interests and well being in their hands. Because I gotta be honest, he's a great player and I don't want to see him go to waste. I think he has a lot more to offer. I would like to see him truly go all the way and go all out. I would like to see him get a ring in his career. He doesn't have one. So, Russell Westbrook, please get yourself together because your team needs you. I don't think they can make a playoffs without you. So it's a good thing, like I said, that it won't be the entire season. That'll just be for a few games, but just work on getting yourself better. All right.
I think that everybody knows that I like Russell Westbrook, but I'm no fan of how he plays the game as far as the fact that he is a ball stopper and a turnover machine. But I don't wish him any ill will or injury. So hearing that the Oklahoma City Thunder will be without him at least for the first couple of weeks of the season really hit me because the NBA is a stars driven league and you need a star, even though, as Amina so eloquently pointed out, they do still have Paul George. And excuse me, I have to excuse my voice. I'm not sick. I just was we had a game today up here in Syracuse and I blew out my voice, so I'm trying to navigate that and still do this podcast. So excuse that. But you have two of the best superstars in the NBA. They're not necessarily like Russell Westbrook. That's a top 4, top 5 player. Paul George is like a top 12 player. So you have a dynamic duo that are coming in the second year of being together that should have a better year than they had last year. And now Paul George has to put the team on his back and carry the team for a little bit while Russell Westbrook is out. And to Amina's point, I mean, this is what happens. I mean, this is what happened to Dwayne Wade. This is what happened to Kyrie Irving. When you play above the rim, a lot of times this is what happened when you play that hardcore style like Russell Westbrook does, like Dwayne Wade used to, like Kyrie Irving does. You're bound to get injuries to those knees because after a while, your knees, you can't lift anymore when you dunk because you're no spring chicken as you get later and later into your 20s. And Dwayne Wade is just a really good example of this. That's what happened to Dwayne Wade. That's why he had to develop a jump shot. He kept dunking, kept falling to the floor, kept getting foul hard. And eventually, his legs, his knees gave out, his ankles gave out. Kyrie Irving's ankles have given out, and his knees, he's had multiple surgeries to the same knees and ankles. That's what kept him out. And, you have that with these players that play above the rim and play hardcore. They're so hardcore that it takes an injury to really stop them. And I don't want Russell Westbrook to change his play, but I want him to consider it because it's his fourth. I know I kind of contradicted myself there, but I want him to kind of consider adjusting his play style, not changing it, but adjusting his play style. What do I mean? So, like I said, this is his fourth surgery on his knee. Fourth. That's Kyrie Irving level, and I love Kyrie Irving. That's Kyrie Irving level of consistent injury in these knees. Now, Amina asks what's wrong. Well, what's wrong is when you get fouled hard, when you take spills like Russell Westbrook does, like I just said, your knees, your legs, you're going to take injuries. You're going to get nicks and nets. And Russell Westbrook, not Kyrie, Russell Westbrook has been playing this hardcore level of basketball since his UCLA days. So you have to think that, and probably even in high school, that there are some injuries that pile up. Just like at Duke, it was these same knees that kept Kyrie Irving out a lot at Duke. Same thing. Now, Russell Westbrook had a relatively injury-free college career, but all this stuff builds up, especially as you get older. You're taking these hard fouls. You're dunking. You're doing everything. You play hardcore like Russell Westbrook does, and then you're bound to get injured. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just his play style dictates that that's what's going to happen. That's what happened to Dwayne Wade. Like I said, that's what happened to Kyrie Irving. That's what happens to high flyers. Eventually, the knees, the ankles, the legs, they give out on them, and they have to adjust their play style. Russell Westbrook, this should be your wake up call. Adjust your play style. You're getting later and later into your 20s. This is not. And once you get later and later into your 20s, as Kobe Bryant showed, as Dwayne Wade showed, once you get later and later into your 20s and you keep playing above the rim like they did, you are bound to get injured. It's what happened. That's what killed Kobe's career. That's what, like I said, shortened Dwayne Wade's career, even though he can still go. That's why he can't. A lot of people say, what happened to the old Dwayne Wade? I'll tell you what happened to the old Dwayne Wade. Like what's happening to Russell Westbrook and Kyrie Irving. When you play hardcore, you get injuries. Your injuries pile up. And it gets to a point where you can't lift. You can't dunk. A lot of people made fun of Dwayne Wade last year when he just couldn't dunk. He could barely get up for a layup. But that's what happens when your legs, your ankles, and your knees give out on you because you play a hardcore style in which you dunk a lot, in which you lay the ball up, in which you're going to the paint. You're going hard. That's what's going to happen to you. Let this be a lesson to you, Russell. Adjust your play style. I want you in the league for a while. Even though I think you made a stupid decision by staying with OKC, I want you to at least be able to achieve a chance at getting a ring. And for Paul George, like I said, it's a blessing in disguise. He gets to be the man. He gets to develop a play style. He gets to have plays be called for him again. And I think this will be good for them as a team. It'll help them gel together. And I think Russell Westbrook is the type of person that he can gel with whatever play style. So now it goes from a Russell Westbrook patent offense to a Paul George patent offense. And I think that'll be good. I think that'll help Paul George become a superstar. And I think that'll really, really help him. That's what I think. I think that this is a blessing in disguise for Paul George. I think it's unfortunate for Russell Westbrook, but I'd rather him take care of this now than have it happen later on where he's missing the playoffs. And just like Kyrie Irving, we're missing a superstar in the playoffs. And that can't happen. But hey, like I said, as we saw with the Boston Celtics last year, injuries can be a blessing in disguise. So I want people to take a breath. It's just a couple weeks of the season. It's not going to be more than that, hopefully. So, and let's just see what happens to the Thunder because things like this can gel. So, moving right along, Amina has a topic that she wants to tackle as far as a new law in California that has to do with HIV. I really haven't been paying attention to this, but Amina wants to talk about it, so let her go solo and talk about this new law. Go ahead.
You could talk about it after I get done. Just say your feedback. Um, for those who don't know, California has this new state law that went into effect a couple of months ago. I think it was like last fall, actually, between last fall and this spring. So it was within the last year. And I had seen people that I know that live out in the West Coast, especially in California itself, posting, comments about it on social media every now and then. I wasn't really paying much mind or attention to it up until recently when I took a few minutes that I had a free leisure time to research it, and it's all on Google. California has decided that if you are HIV positive and you know it, and you have sexual intercourse with another person unprotected, and you and they get it from you from sexual contact, it's no longer a felony in the state of California, which means that you can infect hundreds or thousands of people in California with HIV knowingly, and you won't be arrested for it. This is myself, and I'm involved with the health community as far as the medical world. Um, this is a health crisis in brewing. For those who don't know, California is the springboard state in the country where a lot of federal laws start as state laws in California. So the fact that they have this now in California, I hope and pray that this just stays in California and does not come to the other states in the country, because this is a crisis. How on God's green earth can you legally infect people knowingly with HIV and you won't be persecuted for it? You won't be not persecuted. You won't be prosecuted for it. You won't be arrested for it. You won't be charged for it. You won't be convicted for it. It's like they're taking HIV as a joke, and it's not. People for decades have lost their lives to HIV. It was running rampant in the inner city for a good 30 years, and HIV rates are still elevated in certain places around the globe. So this law, in my opinion, it takes a step back with healthcare. People should have the right to sue someone and or press charges against them for infecting them knowingly with it. This is why I tell people that are sexually active, do not get yourself involved physically with anyone until you both have gone to get tested together at the doctor's office. You can't go separately. You have to go together as a couple to do this. This is your health. This is your life. This is your body, your genital areas. This is your being, your blood, your organs, your cells. The HIV attacks the nervous system and it turns into AIDS. This is not something to be playing with. In California, you all have taken a huge major step back and making this no longer a felony. It, I would not be involved now that I know that this is a law. I would not be involved with anyone personally from California. It's a safety precaution because of the risks that are associated with it. You protect yourself, know your status. Please get checked out on a regular basis. If you don't have health insurance, you can go to the county clinic. They give testing for free. Uh, Please get checked. Like it's not something to be played around with. People think HIV is a thing of the past. No, it's still out here. People still have HIV, and for California to do this, it's like they've they're setting themselves up for a statewide health crisis emergency, and it's not good. This should not have been taken off of the felony list in California. This needed to be remain. It needs to be put back on there, and it's a shame because people that aren't wise to get themselves and others tested before doing anything sexual, they're gonna be the victims of this. They're going to be the ones to suffer. Please get tested. Know your status. It's serious out here. Anyone is sexually active, especially if it's more than one person you're dealing with. Please get tested on a regular basis. It's your life. It's nothing to be playing with. In California, I'm shaking my head at you all. This is a shame. But Kylan can say what he wants to say now that he knows what's going on.
I have nothing else to add. I just want to say that with any of these topics, like I say, the opinions are just that of the individual and not of the people. Not no reflection on the crossover sports podcast or any related entities therein. So, having said that, I think it is unfortunate that California is doing this, and I think that this is a public safety risk. I think that they should reconsider. I think that people have a right to know what you have before you get in bed with them, and I think that has the potential to start not that HIV would all of a sudden become a pandemic, but it has the potential to be a very, very huge public safety and public health concern. And I think I will leave it there. Uh, so moving right along, we got a couple of things to talk about. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl real quick. Our early Super Bowl contenders. I'll start. For me, my early Super Bowl contender right now, you know, is the people that have had the strongest, the teams that have the strongest debut for me. Now, I don't necessarily think, I think only one of these teams will actually make it to the Super Bowl. I think the two teams that had the strongest debut to me were the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that the Eagles really showed that, especially against the Falcons, that the defense, especially right now, with Carson Wentz being absent, that our defense really isn't playing. They held the Falcons once again to a really, really low scoring margin against them. They only scored 12 points. Matt Ryan does not really play well in Philadelphia. Now, for those of you that don't know, Matt Ryan is from the Philadelphia area. And the Eagles really showed that the most improved part of them is not the defensive line, but it's the secondary. Now, Ronald Darby is healthy. And for those that don't know, Ronald Darby was somebody that the Eagles picked up last year in a trade from the Buffalo Bills. And he actually had a really good game against the Falcons last week. He held Antonio not Antonio Jones, Julio Jones to a very, very only 10 receptions. And he was thrown at, I think they said he was thrown at 23 times. He only caught 10 receptions. It had 169 yards, but was held without a touchdown. And for those of you Julio Jones fans and people that own Julio Jones in fantasy, you know that he was putting up a lot of points for you, but it didn't really amount to much because he didn't have touchdowns. And that's obviously what people care about. And for Julio Jones, that's what he cares about. Receptions are nice, but he wanted a touchdown. And Ronald Darby really showed his maturity because he forced Julio Jones to make a difficult catch and made sure that even if he made the catch, he would have been out of bounds. It was like deja vu again for the Falcons. They came into Philadelphia. They started off well, but then the Eagles got back into it. They took the lead. The Eagles really showed that they are really strong and that, the passing game really didn't work last week, but they relied on the running game and their defense, especially their secondary. Their secondary is hugely improved. And Ronald Darby had the best mark for a cornerback, last week because he had a 36.4 incompletion percentage rate. And that, according to Pro Football Focus, is a record rate that hasn't been done since the 2006 season. So if Ronald Darby is that good, the Eagles, and if the secondary continues to improve, the Eagles will be in the Super Bowl. Now on to the Chiefs. The Chiefs really showed. Now I thought that it might have been a little too soon to get rid of Alex Smith, but Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, man. And this is a team that Kareem Hunt is not injured, but he really wasn't a factor last week. But Patrick Mahomes is showing the maturity, and this is his first full year in the NFL. Last year was his rookie season, but this is his sophomore year, but really his rookie season as a starter. He is showing the maturity beyond his years. He's really good. He can sling the football. He was able to get it to Tyreek Hill. He's showing that he's going to be a lot more than a game manager and maybe even a future superstar. And if Patrick Mahomes is this good and he continues to be this good, then the Chiefs may make a deep playoff run, and they already have a really good defense. So if you add somebody who can really sling the ball, throw the ball deep, be able to spread it around to their weapons to what the Chiefs do, Chiefs might be able to make the Super Bowl. Now, I don't think the Chiefs will make the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs have a really good defense, and they have a quarterback that can throw the ball deep and spread the ball around. They might be a problem in the AFC. Just saying. Go ahead, Amina.
Yes. Early Super Bowl 53 predictions. Who will be going to the big show? in the ATL in 2019. Um, Me personally, I would like to see a random match, something that no one's seen before. Two teams that have never been in the Super Bowl or have never won a Super Bowl before. I would like to see something that no one's seen coming, like or a team that hasn't been in the Super Bowl in a while. So the Chiefs are a good choice. That Kylan said, but I really want the Jaguars to make the Super Bowl. They had great potential this past season that ended several months ago. They had a really deep playoff run, and they got eliminated, of course. But I think they have a great opportunity. I mean, they're one of the most youngest franchises in the NFL. They haven't been around as long as other teams, but the fact that they only have been in existence for a short while and are playing at this caliber shows great potential if they keep doing what they're doing and increasing their their defense and offense. Just stay on top of it and just keep building. Like the Jaguars, I believe, have the opportunity to bring Jacksonville, Florida, a title. They have it in them. Some people want the Detroit Lions to get their first title. I can see that, but I'm quite frankly, I don't want to see in Atlanta next year a team that's already been to the Super Bowl recently or already has a few titles under their belt. I would like to see, like I said, something new, something fresh, something that we haven't seen before, something no one was expecting, something that could really get people talking. Because the last several years have been very predictable with Super Bowls, and it's becoming not fun to me because of it. So let's have something that no one's seen before. But if it has to be a team that's been in the Super Bowl several times before and already has a title, um, for some reason, both CBS Sports and Sports Illustrated they want the Packers. They want the Packers to be in the Super Bowl in 2019. And the way that Aaron Rodgers played that game against the Bears, yo, the Bears just gave up. Like Aaron Rodgers, we all thought he was going to be out like for several games or maybe the whole season. When he went down, they carted him off. I don't know what that medical staff did to him in that locker room, but whatever they did, it was a ego booster, it was a health booster, and they just shot him up with all this great energy. And he came back out on that field, and he just lit the third and fourth quarter up. The Bears didn't see it coming. The Bears just blew it. They gave up the game. And if Aaron Rodgers can do that after getting that slight injury that he had during that game, and he can keep it up, I believe that he has the ability to earn the money that they just gave him. So it's a whole lot of scenarios and variables that are going to be going on to the Super Bowl in 2019. Everybody wants to go play at the Mercedes Benz in the ATL. So we shall see. But I think this is going to be a great matchup with whatever two teams play. And I just wish them well, in the decade on the high horse.
So we got a couple of things to do before we get out of here. I have a couple topics to address. Namina can address them if she wants to too. First off, we have to do the baseball thing, just to do it justice for Matt. The The Phillies right now, they won last night, but they are still 16 games. No, they have 16 games left, and they're 7 games out of first place. And they did not gain any ground yesterday because of the win, but they have a lot of games left against the Falcons, the Braves, and hopefully, they will just to talk about the Phillies for a little bit. I had really low expectations for the Phillies this year, and they've exceeded my expectations. They're in playoff contention, and in Philadelphia, we had a really good year in 2018. You had the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, the Sixers getting to the playoffs, and those teams will contend for a while. The Eagles and the Sixers, and they'll both be, in the playoffs this year. And the Flyers are really good as well. They'll probably make the playoffs as well. But the Phillies really had low expectations, and it's really good to see how far they've come in a year. I think I've said this on this podcast before, that I'm really proud of them, even if they don't make the playoffs, because I didn't really expect them to make the playoffs. So if they make the playoffs, that's great. Like I said, there's 7 games out of first place in their division, and they can still make it. They have a little bit of room to make it. But if they don't and they wind up choking, I mean, this is great for the young talent that's there. Give it some time, Phillies fans, and the Phillies will be good. Like, they have Rhys Hoskins. They've made different moves, getting different. They got some bullpen help. They got more hitters. They added Jose Bautista, which was a move that just happened, and that was big. So if the Phillies can continue to make these sort of moves, now I think you'll see the improvement next year than this year. But if the ownership continues to show that they're about winning, then it won't be long before the Phillies are back in the playoffs again. Now, going on with baseball, the Red Sox have just won their 100th game. They are the best team in baseball. I know some Astros fans will argue with me about that, but they have the best pitching and the best hitting. And come playoff time, we'll see, because during baseball playoffs, I've said this on this podcast before, it's not always the best team that wins in the baseball playoffs. So we'll see. It's going to be exciting. It might be Astros, Dodgers in the World Series again. Who knows? But it'll be exciting for you baseball fans. So moving right along to the one that we're going to talk about, 2 things that we're going to talk about, and then we'll get out of here. One is really simple. For the Eagles, Carson Wentz, I believe he hasn't been cleared for contact yet, but the belief is that he will be cleared for contact this week, and we'll be back next Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday, week 3, like I said and called on this podcast before. Carson Wentz will be ready. And once Carson Wentz comes back, I believe that our offense will click again. And once we show that the Eagles are balanced again. But right now, the Eagles are missing that offensive weapon. And I think Nick Foles will find himself against the Buccaneers. I think that the Eagles will beat the Buccaneers. I don't think it'll be pretty handily, maybe 30-20 or 28-20. I think the Eagles will win. I think that the Buccaneers usually play the Eagles tough, but I think it'll be a good game. And I think Nick Foles will have a really good game. I think he'll find himself against the Buccaneers. I believe the defense will feast on Ryan Fitzpatrick. I believe he will face a lot more pressure than he did against the Saints. And I think that this will be a good win for the Eagles. I believe that the Eagles will be 2-0 when they face the Colts next week, and will beat the Colts pretty handily, especially if they have Carson Wentz, and they may even get Alshon Jeffrey back. They're saying that Alshon Jeffrey will probably come back with his quarterback next week. So the Eagles are getting pretty healthy, and that's a good thing for the Eagles. Unfortunate thing for the rest of the NFC. That's a good thing for the Eagles. And they're still missing Tim Jernigan and a couple of other people on the defensive end. They get Nigel Bradham back, and DeAndre Little, I believe is his name. They got him from the Bears, so they get him back. The Eagles are getting slowly but surely from the Super Bowl, from those injuries that occurred during the Super Bowl, some suspensions that happened off season, are getting their strength back. And if the Eagles have their strength, I really believe the rest of the NFC is in trouble. Amina, do you have an opinion about Carson Wentz coming back? What do you think about him getting cleared basically by next week and being able to play if the Eagles so choose next week?
All I gotta say is just pace yourself, don't rush yourself, because injury he had before the advancement of sports medicine used to end people's football careers for good. So don't rush yourself. Like I said, pace yourself, have fun, but know your limits. Um, Personally, I feel as though Nick Foles should be allowed to play this whole of the Eagles' September games. I don't think Carson Wentz should come back until October, just for safety precautions, just to be actually sure. Because the last two videos I've seen of Carson Wentz on at training camp on workouts, he was still limping around. So he wasn't. So he wasn't really running. It was like a fast jog. So I'm not 100% confident in that with him on a actually football field playing games. So, and I'm like maybe 90% with Carson Wentz right now. The other 10%, nah, I'll probably feel that in October, but not right now. So I think he should come back in game four or five, just to see how he does. But always keep Nick Foles on the bench just in case, because you're gonna need Nick Foles, I think. So that's all I gotta say about Carson Wentz. Great player all around, on and off the field, and I ain't got nothing bad to say about him.
Well, it's funny how things come full circle. For our last topic, we're going to talk Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers. The other half of Pennsylvania seems like, no team in Pennsylvania, as far as the football teams, can avoid, some type of controversy with a player, whether that be injury or, in the Steelers' case, the fact that they mismanaged the contract. Now, I have said, as the team in Washington, who shall not be named, have shown with Kirk Cousins, and the fact that they lost Kirk Cousins to the Vikings, you cannot keep franchise tagging. Matter of fact, I think the worst thing in football. Here's a hot take for you. You can take if you remember nothing else about this podcast, episode 100. Here's a hot take for you. Amina knows how I feel about this. I think the franchise tag is the worst thing in football, because it's not good for the player. It limits their economic movement. It's not good for the player. It's just a way for a team that doesn't want to pay a player to get around paying a player, as the Steelers are showing. And like I said, as that team in Washington showed, when they kept trying to keep Kirk Cousins, and the first chance Kirk Cousins got, when he finally got free agency and they couldn't franchise tag him, what happened? He ran to the Minnesota Vikings. He had a higher offer for the New York Jets, much more money guaranteed, but decided to go for 4 years, $90 million, straight to the Vikings, where he could win instead of being a part of a mediocre team like he had been a part of. And I'm not saying the Jets are a mediocre team. We're talking about the team in Washington right now, and a part of a mediocre team. Now, the Steelers are not a mediocre team. They're not. They are a legacy franchise in the NFL. Yet they are treating their main threat outside of Antonio Brown very poorly. And it showed last week. I mean, listen, as the scripture says, you reap what you sow, right? So the Steelers have been reaping chaos and discord and not treating Le'Veon Bell with the respect he deserves. Now Le'Veon Bell is losing an amount close to $2 million because he wants a new contract. And his point is being proven. Like I said a couple weeks ago, Le'Veon Bell, if I were you and I was your agent, I would say my client's going to sit out until y'all show him the respect he deserves. And it just showed last week that Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and what's left of the Steelers' offensive line is not enough to even beat the Cleveland Browns. You know, you tied with the Cleveland Browns. And so I'm wondering what's the audacity the Steelers organization has that you still think you can't pay Le'Veon Bell, and you just tied with one of the worst franchises in the NFL, the dumpster fire that is the Cleveland Browns. Have to put the enunciation, make Syracuse happy. Have to put the enunciation there. The Cleveland Browns. You just tied with them. And you're telling Le'Veon Bell that you don't need him, stay home, James Conner, Antonio Brown, and Ben Roethlisberger enough. Ben Roethlisberger just threw 4 interceptions last week. Ben Roethlisberger has a bad elbow. Ben Roethlisberger, as I said a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people told me I was wrong, and I'm being proven right, is old, can't throw anymore, should have retired last year, you know, and it's just being proven, you know. And the Steelers players, their offensive line and some of their players broke the code. No, I'm not a football player, but I am a former athlete. The one thing that we don't do as athletes is we don't talk about a teammate, a supposed brother, because we preach brotherhood in athletics. You do not talk bad about a teammate when a teammate is either negotiating or doing something that will make them, that will improve their status on the team. You don't do that. And the offensive line, Maurkice Pouncey and the rest of them, they went and attacked Le'Veon Bell. Now, even if he wanted to, he can't come back because what he looked like coming back, and his whole offensive line, you know, just talked about how he's selfish, basically, how they basically never really liked him. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but they did say that he's about himself, he's selfish, you know. How can you as a running back, now you're supposed to trust these guys to block for you. How can you as a running back come back to that? You know, even if I get a new contract, if I'm Le'Veon Bell, I'm Khalil Mack and get. I want to be traded. Trade me. Because at this point, he can't go back to the Steelers. They're calling him selfish. The fans are calling him selfish. They're doing a hit piece on my man by doing this to him. And all he wants is new money. Sure, the Steelers can't do it. But this is my overall point is the franchise tag has put the Steelers in a bad position because they kept relying on the fact that they could keep franchise tagging Le'Veon Bell until next year when he's a free agent and his rookie contract is up. He doesn't have the franchise tag. And you know what's going to happen, Steelers and Steelers fans? You're going to suck this year. You're going to suck this year because you don't have anybody in that backfield that scares anybody. Ooh, I'm so scared of James Conner. What happened? What did the Browns do? They loaded the box, dared James Conner to prove them wrong, and he did. But ultimately, Ben Roethlisberger and what's left of his arm couldn't seal the deal. Antonio Brown got his numbers, and you still tied with the Browns. And now this week, you got to deal with a top 5 defense in the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what's going to happen to you this week, Steelers and Steelers fans? You're going to be upset again because the Steelers are going to lose and lose pretty handily to the Kansas City Chiefs. Probably by a score sort of like this, 30-20. And all you really have to blame is the franchise tag and the Steelers organization because the Steelers organization, much like the San Antonio Spurs did, screwed the pooch when it came to their superstar. And now they don't have a superstar and they're left with not adequately preparing for the likelihood of not having the superstar that you mistreated. Amina, your thoughts?
I'm glad you just brought that up about the Spurs because I was just about to say that because somebody I know actually posted a status about the Steelers situation and said that Bell is about to pull a Kawhi Leonard. So I was laughing when you was talking about that when I was muted. Um, yeah, Steelers. They're the team in the NFL that got the most Super Bowl wins, but y'all want that stairway to 7, but y'all not trying to put forth the effort in the last several years to get that. Um, just y'all not doing Bell right from what I see. Like y'all just fell through the cracks and I would say leadership and communication, those qualities. And now he's sitting out and he's not getting paid. And you all, like Kylan said, got tied with by far the worst team in the NFL in an overtime game. Kylan didn't mention that, but it was an overtime game that they played against the Browns. That they went tied 21-21. An overtime game. Y'all had 5 quarters, okay? Y'all got tied with this. Since when do the Steelers do this? At any point in preseason or the regular season, get tied with a team like the Browns. I I was shocked. I was like, what? But it happened. So y'all, like Kylan is saying, are going to be impacted by this situation of Le'Veon Bell not playing. Who knows if he'll even come back to the Steelers? He may be in cahoots with other teams right now to get signed somewhere else. But I don't see the Steelers having a great season this season if they don't get their act together. And as Kylan also said, you all have no one on your roster that scares anyone. Like no one's scared to play the Steelers anymore like they used to be. Like the Steelers used to be an old glory pillar team of perfection and class. But now it's like Steelers. When I hear about them, it's like, oh, that team. You all have bought this on yourself. It's unfortunate, but it's like that. Le'Veon Bell, I hope you have some teams that are willing to sign you because you may or may not be able to come back to Pittsburgh. But just prepare yourself for all possibilities because this is crazy. He's gonna have to pull a Kawhi Leonard, and some team is gonna have to trade or just sign him away to another team because he clearly doesn't want to be there. And he didn't even show up, to my knowledge, to off-season workouts for training camp. He, not being able to get in contact with them, the front office or teammates, and he just forfeited a $850,000 check for not showing up for the first season for the game. So he doesn't want to be there, obviously. So Steelers fans, get ready because he might be leaving, and the proof is in the pudding. Signs are all there. So that's what I gotta say about Le'Veon Bell.
I'm gonna stop you right where on your tracks right now because I know I jumped in this. I just got here and oh by the way, how you doing? I'm Matthew Mack at Small Red Horn. Let, let me stop you there for a second because you sound like a disgruntled Raider. You sound like someone who's pretty much mad at their own team, so you got to take it out on somebody else's team, the Steelers, your rival. Okay, think about this. You you want to be paid, right? Right? And Le'Veon Bell is we can agree that he's top three, top five running backs in the NFL right now. This is not the first time he's done this. This is not the first time he's done this. He wants his money. I don't blame him, but the Steelers do not do not operate that way. So it is what it is. He's got fresh. Nobody likes to be. Nobody wants to be tagged on the franchise tag side of things. Nobody does. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I'll admit to this. He's going to lose. He's losing a lot of money, but he has to play a certain amount of games. I think six. the to take care of the business side of things. But it's the way the Steelers operate. That's all there is to it. I mean, you can whine, you can name about it whatever you want, but the man wants to get paid, and I don't blame him. But you have to remember, running backs in the National Football League don't last long. The average was it about 4 to 6 years for running backs. But Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs in the NFL. Now, first of all, let me stop you by saying this. To sit here and say that you don't fear the Pittsburgh Steelers, no, 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 no. That's where you're dead wrong. Fear is one thing, respect is another. Now, you put Le'Veon Bell on that team, you have to respect the running game. Yes, Ben Roethlisberger is not the same. AB is going to do his thing, but Juju Schuster-Smith is the truth. But don't you ever, and I never thought to defend Steeler Nation, the terrible towers and everything. I never thought to do this, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. Don't you ever in your life besmirch the name of the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? Even though you're a Raider and you like the Raiders, your favorite team is the Raiders, but don't you forget that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're not the team that you quote unquote fear, but that's the team that you must respect. And yes, the Steelers are missing Le'Veon Bell big time. We see this, we admit this, we agree with. Oh, by the way, it is an embarrassment if you're a Steelers fan to tie against the Cleveland Browns. You put up a tie, bruh. If you're a Steelers fan, I have to admit to this. It's unacceptable. It's very unacceptable. So to sit here, give me the soft language that comes out of your mouth, talking about they're not feared anymore. You don't. I don't know. I don't know what research you've been pulling up. I don't know what roster you're seeing. I don't know. You probably had too much basketball in your brain to see that this Steeler team is actually good. It's still good. They're good enough to make to probably get to the playoffs this season. But to sit here and say feared, they're not as fierce. Man, you need to be slapped on this one. I'm sorry.
Tyler just said the same thing that they're not feared anymore, so I'm not the only one.
I no. Well, Colin needs to be slapped too. I'm sorry.
Hold up. I said that they are not, that nobody in their backfield outside of Le'Veon Bell scares you. Now, unless, Matt, you want to tell me that you're scared of James Conner and whoever is behind James Conner.
No. Look,
that's what I said. I said nobody in that backfield scares.
Right. I agree with you on that one. I agree that nobody, like, after Le'Veon was like, it's whatever, but when you get him, Bell back there, it's like, you know what, he is a cause for concern. You are a cause for concern on your defense. I agree with that. I mean, wholeheartedly. But to come up here and say that the Steelers are not as fierce as they used to be, I mean, that's blasphemy. You heard me. Chuck Noll should be rolling in the grave right now. Bill Collins should be pissed off at some people right now. I mean, golly, what's wrong with these people? But I agree on the fact that this team is not the same without Le'Veon Bell. But fear, come on, don't forget that receiving core is killer, and that defense, no one ain't the same, but it has to be respected.
Okay, well, we just saw the bad man that used to be Ben Roethlisberger, what's left of Ben Roethlisberger, throw 5 interceptions once again against the Cleveland Browns. He did it last year twice. He'll do it again this year twice. He's becoming a turnover machine. He's old. I said this earlier too. He should have retired. I also said the worst thing in football is the franchise tag, and I compared the Steelers to the San Antonio Spurs, another respected organization that screwed the pooch when it came to their superstar. Again, like I said earlier, the franchise tag is the worst thing in football. Why? Because it is a good way for teams that don't want to pay their superstar to get around paying their superstar. And now the Steelers are reaping the benefits of what happens when you don't pay your superstar. It's the same thing that happened to that team in Washington, like I said earlier, with Kirk Cousins. The first thing that Kirk Cousins did was run away from DC as fast as he could and go to Minnesota. Now, I've never known somebody that would say, you know what? Instead of DC, I'd rather be in Minneapolis playing for the Vikings than be in DC. You know, I'd rather leave the swamp, because we all know DC is swampland. I'm not making a political pun there. I'd rather leave the swamp and go to the frozen tundra that is Minneapolis, Minnesota. And that's what Kirk Cousins did. And that's the same thing Le'Veon Bell is going to do. There's a reason why I use the metaphor of the Spurs with a legendary coach. Not saying Mike Tomlin is legendary, but with another legendary respected coach, a respected franchise who screwed the pooch with their superstar. And that's what's happening with Le'Veon Bell. Listen, he wants his money, that's correct. But what you didn't address, Matt, and I want you to address, is the fact that his offensive line did a hit on him. You know as a former athlete, I know as a former athlete, that we're supposed to be a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a whatever hood, and you don't talk about your teammate when they're trying to either uplift their status or get their money. Correct or right or wrong?
You're right.
So then my question to you is, how do you expect Le'Veon Bell, if they give him his money, which you, me, and Amina don't expect them to give them his money unless they go 0-16, how do you expect him to come back to that organization after what Marquise Pouncey and them basically said about him? You've heard them basically say that he's selfish, he's about himself, blase, blase, blase. How can he trust him? Because you know the running back position is dependent on your offensive line. I don't think he's ever going to play for them again, even if they give him their money. That's why I said, and Amina said, that he'll be Kawhi Leonard, because what they're going to do is probably trade him, because I don't think he's going to come back. Unless they're going to force him, take him in, unless they're going to jump into his house and forcibly bring him to Heinz Field. I don't think it's going to happen. But you go ahead. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Look, as an athlete, honestly, it's disheartening to see, okay, look, it's one thing, it's business, and you try to take care of business, do your thing, take it, but make sure you come back in one piece, business in hand. But when you let business affect other aspects of work/team, we got a problem. And to the degree, I kind of have to agree with the players in this one, because, like, look, you knew full darn well that the Steelers were not going to talk to you about any contract matters. You knew this. Now, yes, I do agree with you, Kyle, on the fact that the franchise tag is by far the worst thing in sports, really. It's the worst in sports. After that's going to arbitration in baseball. But that's another thing. But the thing is, as a player, you gotta look. It's a brotherhood. Like you said, it's a brotherhood, and you cannot. It's a family. It's a whatever. You at a certain point, you gotta put team ahead of self. You're not getting the money that you want or the money that you desire or whatever. But you gotta show up for work. You gotta show up. You may not be happy with what you're getting right now, but if it's in good faith and a good conscience, I might think, look, you keep talking with the team until you get your money or your contract runs out and you go as a free agent next season. It is no point to be a distraction to the team because you're not getting your money. It's no point. Look, nobody likes the franchise tag. Everybody hates the franchise tag because the Steelers have a thing, honestly, I think, I could be wrong. Like, this is the Steelers. This is what we do. We don't like they pay the superstars, but not like that. I could be wrong.
Okay, well, Matt, do your baseball thing and we'll get out of here.
No, let me tell you something about this. Man, I am glad I came on the back end of this because you won't believe how angry I am with the Philadelphia Phillies. Not normally, I'll ask a question, or two or three, and then get out of your hair. But no, no. Let me tell you something. And me and what's her face over there, trying to calm me down on this end. But no, you have to understand this. How in the world a baseball team has the first place for the majority of the season? Get to April, get to like say late August, early September, late August. You struggle. You struggle so bad. Not only you lose first place, you're 7 games out of first, 5.5 out of the wild card. How do you how do you do that? You get Justin Bour, you make Estrella Cabrera, you get even Jose Bautista, Mr. Batflip. You know, all this offensive help. Even Wilson Ramos, he's there just because he's the best with batting average and running with runners in scoring position. But for those of you that don't know, running scoring position means you have runners are first and or second. Second and or third. Excuse me. And yet, this team reverts to trying to hit the long ball. Gabe, let me tell you something. Yes, You're among the league leaders as a team in walks and home runs, but you stink at batting average, wasting good outings. You're wasting your bullpen. I mean, this is ridiculous. Mick Pavetta's struggling. Velasquez is struggling. Aaron Nola's pitching like he's a Cy Young Award winner right now, and yet the team can't win. Run difference is -11. -11. How dare you take this? Now, mind you, we weren't expecting this, but now that we're here, now that we're almost about 2 weeks away from the end of baseball season, you're gonna come up, you're gonna pretty much run out of gas now. Oh no! Mind, let me slow you down real quick. The Braves were struggling as much as the Phillies were. All the Phillies have to do is get out of that funk as fast as you can and literally get get back to where you were. You cannot win when you're having a run differential of -11 throughout the whole entire season. You can't win when you're, I don't know, way under 500 on the road. You cannot win when your batting is anemic, your hitting is anemic. You cannot win when with bad inept defense. You can't win. And you expect me and this fan base to literally think that this team is playoff ready? I wrote on my Facebook like this team's not going to the playoffs. But there's an outside chance they could, but I don't see it. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I need this team to prove me wrong. Yes, they're staffed. They played 7 games against the Atlanta Braves, and they did the worst thing they could do: be 7 games out with 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Worst thing you can do. At this point, you have no room for error. Yeah, you blew them out last night, and right now you're what? You're down 4-2 in the fifth. So this team is horrible. this team is strictly horrible at this point of the year. You can't go on this. You can't go on and say, hey, you winning doing well this, nope. You better pull that. You better pull that plane up, or else we have a problem. Pull it up.
All right, well, that's the 100th episode. Like I said, it's a blessing to be at 100 episodes. I want to thank Matt, I want to thank Amina, I want to thank Trey, Andre, and everybody else who has rocked out with us and ever been a correspondent. Thank you for listening. Thank you for helping us just grow as a podcast. We ask that you would continue to do that by liking the video, subscribing, sharing the videos. I mean, if you're a big sports fan and you like this podcast, generally somebody else will like this podcast. So just hit the share button, hit the retweet button when you see it on Twitter. At Colin W. Watson is my Twitter. Thank you guys so much for being a part of 100 episodes. And Lord willing, we'll be blessed to do 100 more episodes, and we'll be at 200 maybe come next year. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy this humid and summer-like weekend that we have. Also, if you are in the North Carolina, South Carolina, Outer Banks area, please stay safe during Hurricane Florence. And we hope that we're praying for you, and we hope that you will stay safe and that you will continue to be safe. I've heard that as many as 4 deaths have been confirmed so far. Now, that number might have changed. That was last night's number. But, just stay safe. And just stay safe. Leave if you can. But, yeah, we here at the Crossover family are praying for you and hoping that you will stay safe and do right by you and keep yourself safe. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend. Like I said, enjoy and catch us next week for episode 101. Deuces.
Have a great week.